Hey guys, Johnny here. So today I'm going to talk about a mental health issue. Um, this is an issue that is one of my pet peeves, actually. Um, so there's a thing called transactional hostage taking. And I actually have to look that up as to whether or not I coined that because I think I did. But, it may be out there and you guys can maybe tell me whether I did or not. But so, what transactional hostage taking means is that you are in some kind of a relationship with somebody where there is a transaction being had, whether that is a romantic relationship or a friendship that has, relationship qualities, whether it's monetary, whether it is work related. Transactional hostage taking can take place between a boss and an underling. It can take place between two coworkers sometimes, depending on the relationship between them. Basically, it has to do with some sort of transaction happening between two people, and that transaction gets hijacked by one party, sometimes actually by both parties. So let's say, for example, like I have an example from today. So I made a purchase of some leggings, right? You would think not a big deal, purchase of leggings. So I bought these, and USPS said that they were delivered, and I haven't seen them. So they were not delivered to me, delivered to somebody in my neighborhood. Who knows? All I know is that I did not receive them. So I called the company and I said, hey, the USPS is saying that these things were not delivered to me. What do I do? Oh, contact USPS. So at first I was like, fine, that's fine. So I called my local postal service and I talked to somebody there, and I made an online complaint form, did whatever, said that, this is not true, this is not valid, these things did not come through to me. And in the process of this, not only did United States Postal Service, make me feel like I was somehow being inaccurate or not being truthful, but then I had the company, when I called them back again, and I was like, wait a minute, I just did your job for you. Why did I just get sucked into that? I just totally, in my mind even, felt like that was a legitimate thing for them to tell me to do and for me to do. Right? No, sorry. I paid you for a product. You are an online store, so you know that you need to make sure that you are delivering things. Now, I used to sell on Amazon. I sold like basically a whole library of gaming books over the period of like 2 years. I had a side business. It was my side business. I didn't think about it at the time. I was just trying to get rid of some gaming books. But it basically became a side business for me. And it was my responsibility. And I remember there was a time where some guy in Brazil had ordered books from me. And I had to do the work. Why? Because I don't care how much he paid or didn't pay or how much discount I gave him or anything. That's my business. That's my responsibility to follow up on that. It's not my responsibility. It would be like me as a trainer or me as a counselor blaming my clients for not doing things that were my responsibility. Like, it's one thing if you're, if you're saying to your client, well, I can't control your sleep. I can't control your eating patterns. I can't control how you're working out when you're not with me. I can't control any of those things. Or a mental health counselor. I can't control if you're taking your meds. I can't control if you're doing the things that you need to do. If you're doing the homework that I've given you as a therapist in order in your home, I can't control those things. That's one thing. But it's another thing to have an expectation of someone else that they're going to do something that's really either your job or something that you can help process. Like if you're in a relationship, for example, my husband and I are not always on equal standing in our relationship. Sometimes I'm needful of him in ways that he's not necessarily needful of me in. And so he's able to, like, it's not equal. It's not always equal. And this is where transactional hijacking or transactional hostage taking takes place. When you've got this relationship with somebody else who is trying to make you do something that ultimately is not really your job. It would be like a boss asking, I mean, how many of you have been in a situation where you've had a boss in your life, maybe when you were a teenager, who's asked you to do something that you weren't like capable of doing, or you weren't knowledgeable enough to do, or, you know, setting you up for failure, basically? How many of us have accepted that and taken that as something that, you know, is okay for us? And here's the thing, is that that's not okay. It's never okay for somebody else to ask us or demand of us something that is A, not our job, or B, not something that we are even capable of doing, because again, they're setting us up for failure. And that's not okay. And I see parents doing it to their kids. I see sometimes teachers doing it to their students. I see administrators sometimes doing it to teachers. I see bosses doing it to their employees. Sometimes it's not even, they're not even aware of it. Sometimes we set up a scenario in our head that this person is totally capable of doing those things, but we've not had that conversation with them about whether or not they're capable of doing that, or really even thought through whether or not that's something that should be our job. And the point is that if you are asking somebody else to do something that is not something that they are capable of doing, that is not something that they are qualified to do, that's not something that you've trained them well enough to do, or is just something that, you know, they're paying you to do, you need to do it. And stop taking emotional hostages. And stop accepting transactional hostage taking on your part. That's part of, like, you stand up for yourself too. You don't have to always say, heck yeah, I'm going to do that thing. Okay, so I'm, you know, I called it out on social media. So here's the possible playback from this. I might get a nasty letter back from the company saying something like, well, you know, you should have just chilled your jets and waited and, you know, let us do our job. And I would have been like, no, you already overstepped your bounds and tried to take me in some transactional hostage situation that wasn't appropriate or valid. You know, it's if I'm paying somebody else to do something, if I'm paying an online store, for example, to provide me with something that has to be shipped to me, that's their responsibility to get it to my house. And it's not my responsibility. I mean, it's my responsibility to be honest about whether or not I've gotten it back. There is a portion of trust relationship there. But honestly, come on now, especially if that company is insured, that package for twice what I purchased it for, really? Do your job. Like, that's what I'm saying. Do your job. Don't take transactional hostages of people. Don't set people in this, like, place where they feel like they owe you when you owe them. If you're working for someone and you're in some kind of a relationship with them, whether it's monetary or work related or relationship related, be the adult. Sometimes you might walk into the room and have to be the only adult in the room. I hate that. Like, we all hate that, right? We walk in the room and, like, the other person we're in a relationship with, like a friend of ours, is just like having like a crazy meltdown, and we're like, oh my God, really? Grow up, be the adult. Don't, like, you know, they're human. They have feelings too. You don't have to be like that. We shouldn't have these expectations of each other that are inappropriate or inaccurate, really, when it comes down to it. Like, have realistic expectations. It's just like if you're having a mental breakdown or like an emotional breakdown and your friend walks into the room and treats you like that, how do you feel? Think about it from the other perspective. Don't hold people emotionally hostage to you or transactionally hostage to you, because that's not their role in life. I don't care if it's your spouse, your kids, or your parents, or whoever it is in your life, like a store, you know, or a customer or whatever. I mean, the point is that we, you know, holding that like transitional hostage taking, hijacking, transitional, like transactional hijacking of each other is just wrong when it comes down to it. And it's shifting of blame, right? It's like, I don't have to take responsibility for that. That's your responsibility. You call them, or you do this, or you do that. And then let me know how that goes. You're not teaching me anything. I just paid you for a product. Do your job. Anyway, that's my rant for the day and my advice for the day. And if you feel like you are in any kind of a transactional hostage taking situation in your life, then I don't know, think about it. What's the relationship like for you? I love you all. Talk to you later. Bye.